Good afternoon, class. So, my persuasive speech is going to be on online classes. This is something that we all have, and I have a very strong opinion about because I've encountered a lot of issues not only with my online classes, but also with the way that the campus and the CSU system have adapted to this current situation. So, with the recent changes in our world, we've had to restructure everything. So, that's society, schooling, work, social interactions, going outside, and pretty much everything else. It's a very different world than it was just a year ago. And although we have been in this pandemic for just about a year now, we still face a lot of new issues, problems, and are constantly adapting to new policies and new changes that we encounter every day. So, one thing that we all face together is online classes. Now, the CSU system, our school, and our professors have all had to adapt to these extreme circumstances and make the most out of it. I mean, our professors are doing a generally good job, I would say. But there are really two sides of this argument, and that's those who believe that our professors, the CSU system, and our campus are doing really well in supporting us as students and working cohesively together to provide us a very good education. And then there's those who believe otherwise, that the new policies, the formats for classes, the situation as a whole is not ideal and actually is harming us as students. I'm going to start with, those who are for this current situation, those who like what our school is doing in the direction that we're headed. Now, it is very important for our school, our professors, and for us that our education is continued. As we all know, after a really long summer break or after winter break, we forget everything that we previously knew, and we have to start anew. It's like a fresh slate. So, as many returning students actually who are going to tell you, like gap year students or those who return for higher education, are going to tell you it only gets worse. That you never all of a sudden remember everything you learned in middle school and that kind of stuff. It's gone forever, pretty much. You have to retake those classes. And the fact that we now have technologies to continue our education and make online school so easy and accessible, well, I mean, we kind of have to take it, right? And so, as for continuing school, the online format is very beneficial because it helps us maintain proper health protocols, social distancing, and the possibility for more free or available time for many students. That's a big plus for a lot of people. And also, it may be easier for some people to manage online classes depending on their current course load. But there are also many reasons that the current situation we find ourselves in is hindering our education. Now, I'm going to talk about and spearhead kind of two different points here, and that's going to be the financial stress and strains that we encounter and the difficult and poorly structured classes. So I'm going to start off with this financial part because I believe this is very big and very prevalent, but we may not notice it just yet. And that's the fact that, we all know college has been increasing. The cost of college has been increasing for the past few decades. And in fact, in the last decade, the cost of tuition and fees has increased by over 26%. So when classes were announced for the CSU to be online in this the previous semester and during the summer, we didn't hear anything about the price of our education actually changing. So currently, what we are paying for is we are currently paying for the in-person classes, that in-person and hands-on experience that we all came to this school for, and then the in-person help and resources like tutoring. But very few of us are actually receiving that. Only about half the students are here on campus, and even majority of the students here on campus have online classes. The maritime transportation and the engineers that I talk to, they may have only 2 in-person classes and the rest are online. And so we're not only paying for these big bucks for our online school, but many of us find ourselves in this difficult financial situation in general because of COVID. My family and I have actually experienced this firsthand. We moved down to LA recently, in early January, for my dad's job. But in April, he got laid off because of COVID. There's not much we could have done about it. And, now we're in this situation where we can barely afford a new apartment. We struggle to get by. And my mom had to, figure out how to get back into the workforce after being out of it for 30 years because of cancer. And so my sister and I had to work our butts off this summer. During the summer, I would work 60-hour weeks just so that I could have enough money to pay for college and then also pay for the things I would need up here while I'm at college. I had no money for savings otherwise. The only reason I can actually be on campus at all right now is because of my job as a RHO and my other job as a gym monitor. If I didn't work as much as I did this past summer, or I didn't work these 2 jobs right now, I couldn't afford college. That's it. I'd have to drop out. Financial aid and FAFSA hasn't caught up to us. It hasn't processed the fact that majority of people in this country can no longer afford the things that we used to be able to just because of COVID. There have been over 20 million layoffs. 20 million jobs have been lost. So I know it's not my family that is experiencing this alone. There's people around the country and around the world who are experiencing this exact same thing, and we can no longer afford to pay for these in-person classes when we're just getting this online substitute that is nowhere near the same. But I don't want to go on a rant here. This is a persuasive speech. So let me switch over to these online classes. How are they actually doing, and what do students feel about them? So I surveyed about 14 Cal Maritime students, and 86% of them, 12 out of 14, say that in general, their professors are not performing well in this online instruction. Now, me and some of these other students outlined a bad example of what online classes is. That's excessive coursework, rarely meeting, although it does work for some classes, but the excessive coursework, rarely meeting, very little support outside of class like office hours and tutoring. It's already a very difficult course, and there's a lot of group projects which we somehow can manage over email. And the homework that we receive is not only extensive, but it's also very difficult and almost not doable. Now, some teachers have adapted very well, and I'm very lucky to have 2 professors who I believe have perfected that. And their format for their classes are more along the lines of this, and that's less focus on weekly homework and weekly quizzes and that kind of stuff, but instead their focus is on discussions and learning and participating in class and actually growing as a student and learning this material. They also have open office hours. They focus a lot more on the projects that we're doing and learning than the weekly homework and those quizzes we have every single week. And in their syllabus, they had some clear and concise instructions on what is expected of us. But not only that, they also are able to adapt to every student's individual needs. Now, we as students generally learn better from more hands-on and discussion-based learning in general, not sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day watching monotone presentations. And so we're all kind of in this situation together. We didn't pay for this college, and we didn't come here for online classes. We're stuck with these hard college-level classes being taught over Zoom, with excessive amounts of homework, rarely meeting, inaccessibility to resources for help, and the pressures of everything else going on because of COVID, everything around us other than school. This is some of the worst education that we're ever actually going to receive. Sure, some online classes are doing awesome, and they're great, and I'm actually learning and I'm enjoying them. But that begs the question, is the current policy and our current situation we find ourselves in doing more harm than good to the students? And I believe so. From poor policies from the CSU, along with grotesquely formatted online classes and no changing in, the price of this education we're receiving, and also not really a change in how we're being graded and how this is going to affect us in the future, we're kind of placed in a hole here. We're placed in a hole, we don't have a ladder, and we have no way to get out. The only thing we can do is persist and try and hope for the best and get through this. We're kind of just left in the dark here, and we're just hoping for the best. Thank you.